Hello everyone, my name is Vestine Yakabumbye. Today we are going to talk about workplace sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is one of the most common workplace harassments and has become predominant type of harassment in workplace. It has been a big issue in society as well as in workplaces, especially in healthcare organizations. The first step in stopping and eliminating workplace sexual harassment would be through education and training of all employees in organizations. Healthcare managers are required to provide education and training to all healthcare employees to ensure that they understand their responsibilities and rights in preventing, stopping, and eliminating workplace sexual harassment. This slide shows different types of harassment, like the way it happens, different ways sexual harassment can happen in workplace. What is sexual harassment? Uh, Sexual harassment is a form of sex discrimination and can include any unwelcome physical or verbal harassment of sexual nature, sexual advances, or sexual favor request. Sexual harassment has not to be of sexual nature all the time. It can be an offensive remarks about a person's gender. If an individual observes sexual material or behavior or hears statements of a sexual nature that offends him or her and interferes with the ability of that person to do his or her job, then that person is the victim of sexual harassment. Next, we are going to see to discuss the effects of sexual harassment on an organization. Sexual harassment will affect the organization in many different ways, in many negative different ways. This is because the effects of harassment on employees can also in turn hurt the organization by affecting workers' morale, productivity, absenteeism, turnover, organizational commitment, as well as the external reputation of the employer. All these will lead to organizations' productivity decrease. Types of Next we are going to discuss the types of sexual harassment. There are many different types of sexual harassment, and they include the following. There is verbal, spoken, or written type. This will include terms of indictment, suggestive remarks, sex favor requests, offensive joking and teasing, comments about clothing and appearance, and many more. Nonverbal sexual harassment type will include things such as giving gifts to the person, sexual gestures, winking, blocking someone's path, inappropriately looking at someone else's body, and many more. Visual sexual harassment type will include things like offensive pictures, sexual exposures, or offensive screensaver. Physical type will include things like stroking, touching, kissing, raping, or massaging neck and shoulders. Psychological type will include things like proposals and repeated undesired date invitation. Who is at risk of sexual harassment? Sexual harassment is very common in healthcare industries, and healthcare workers are at high risk for sexual harassment. Some healthcare workers are harassed by physicians and nurses and at the direct and some healthcare workers are harassed by physicians and nurses and other healthcare workers are frequently harassed by patients. It's common for nurses to be hit and grabbed, especially for those working in the emergency department where patients may be confused or high on drugs or alcohol. Patients sometimes expose themselves, make inappropriate comments, or engage in other forms of harassment that contribute to a hostile environment. Research studies show that females in supervisory positions are more likely to be harassed than females in subordinate positions. What are the rights and responsibilities concerning sexual harassment? It is employees' rights and responsibilities to report any sexual harassment they experience or witness. They are in a better position to stop and eliminate harassment because they are the ones who most of the time get harassed or witness harassment. They have to take reasonable care to prevent sexual harassment and take reasonable care to promptly correct sexual harassment once it occurs. Failure to carry out these responsibilities may carry significant financial implications if a court rules that sexual harassment has occurred. Employees should always remember that employer cannot be held responsible for behaviors about which they are not aware of. So it is employees' responsibility to report any sexual harassment they experience or they witness to the employer. Next, we're going to discuss how employee can report sexual harassment. The first thing to do when somebody experience or witness harassment, the first thing to do, the employee will document it. So the employee should document every incident of sexual harassment, including date, time, description, and witnesses. Next thing the employee can do will be reporting. By following employer procedures, the employee should make a formal complaint to the appropriate supervisor in writing, outlining exactly what has occurred and providing evidence of or supporting statement of witnesses as appropriate. The employee also can seek support through friends, family, and co-workers. In conclusion, while some behavior is blatantly offensive, that it is clearly sexual harassment, much other behavior falls into a gray area. If employees should always remember that If any behavior is welcome, it does not constitute sexual harassment. Employees should know that sexual harassment is very common in healthcare industries, that healthcare workers are at high risk for sexual harassment by physicians, and those employees who are direct care providers are most of the time harassed by patients. The first step in stopping and eliminating workplace sexual harassment would be through education and training of all employees in organization. Employers should understand that not all employees in their organization know what sexual harassment is and what to do if they experience or witness sexual harassment. They should make sure all employees in their work group have all information they need about sexual harassment through education and training. This is the reference page. In case someone need any additional information about what we discussed, they can come to this page and they can find anything they need, any additional information they may need. Thank you for listening.